In this video, we're going to explore running reports and subscribing to reports. Subscribing meaning having reports automatically delivered to someone through email or fax every day. And so in order to get to reports, there's a reports option on the menu, both on the admin screen and on the data entry screen. So you can get to the screen from either one of those. And when you get to the screen, you're able to run any one of three different reports. We have which everybody should be familiar with. The first is the daily fax, which is the daily breakdown of car sales by new and used by dealership. The standard daily fax report. The second is a sales report, which is a similar type of report, only formatted differently. And the final one is the log, which is more of an administrative report to see who is actually entering data daily onto the data entry screen and saving the sales data for their dealership. For each of these reports, there's a date that you can actually run the report for. For the daily fax report, that's very simple. You can select any date that you want. We're going to go back to a date that we know we have information for. We're going to go to July 7th, 2013. You've got your daily fax report here. You selected your date, and then you just hit the run button, the green arrow on the side here. And what ends up happening is your report is pulled from the system and displayed on the screen for you to see, and you can scroll down and view the whole report. So that's how you run the daily fax. The daily fax is always a single day that you run the report for. The second type of report that you can pull, we won't show the log because it's pretty simple, but the sales report warrants some level of attention, is the sales report. Now, we could pull the sales report for the same date, and we'll see what that looks like. But basically, sales report can not always just run for one particular day, but we're going to run it for one day right now. And so we see the same data only displayed differently, this time in the sales report format, where you see it's a sales report. It shows the date that it was run for. Now let's look at the options that we have for the sales report. We look at the period. Basically, we can say, do we want to run it for the day? So in this case, for July 7th, for the week, which would be the entire week within which July 7th falls. And if we run that, you'll see that we get actually a date range here now and cumulative totals for the week. Month, same thing. We could run it for the month, which would be the entire month, July 1st through August 1st. It's a lot more data this time. We could also run it for the year. Now, we're not going to do that. But there's another option here too, time period. When we select time period, it actually asks us to enter a begin date and an end date. So say we just wanted 2 days worth of information, July 7th and 8th, we could run that report, select July 7th and 8th for a time period, click the run button, and we see cumulative data for July 7th through July 8th. Okay. So that's the reports. Log is also, again, very simple. Let's go back to daily fax, and we'll just run it for same day. Don't necessarily have to run it, but we'll run it just so there's no confusion on the screen. And let's talk about how do we subscribe to different reports. Okay. To the right of the report entry information is a button called subscriptions. Now, so subscriptions are different depending upon whether we're looking at a daily fax or a sales report. So let's look at daily fax first. So we hit subscriptions, and we'll bring up all of the subscribers already in the system. Right now there's only one, but say we wanted to add another subscription. So we're going to add Mike Sage. So Michael is going to receive it. I'm sorry, his name is Mike Sage. His email is msage@me.com. If we want it delivered by email, we put an email in. If we wanted it delivered by fax, we could put a fax number in here. Or if we wanted it delivered both ways, we would put an email and a fax. In this case, we're just going to send an email. So we hit save, and now we see we have both Ken Lentz and Mike Sage as subscribers to the system. All right, so let's just hit OK, and we're done with that one. Now let's go to the sales report, okay, and hit subscriptions. Because the sales report has different range options, we're going to actually have a lot more to do when we try to subscribe to a sales report. So let's add Ken Lentz report period. Well, let's look at this, okay? So we look at the report period. Do we want, when this report is run at 3 o'clock in the morning every morning and delivered to my email, do I want it run for today, for the actual day? Probably not. 3 a.m., not much going on. For yesterday, could very well be. For this week, which would mean for this week starting on Monday. For last week, the entire 7 days, Monday through Sunday of last week. Month to date, last month. Year to date, or even if I want to look at last year's numbers, I could have that scheduled and run to me as well. So we're just going to look at, say, we're going to look at last week, and I want that report to be run on a weekly basis. So every Monday at 3 a.m., I'm going to receive the report period. Now, if I wanted a daily report for yesterday, I could say I want it for yesterday, and I want it to run daily. But in this case, we're going to go last week, and we're going to run it weekly. It's my report, Ken Lentz, and I want it emailed to me, ken.lentz@earthlink.com, and I don't want it faxed. And so now I hit save, and now we see Ken Lentz is one of the subscribers to the report, and here's his basic information. So now with subscriptions, reports are delivered in an automated fashion to you every morning, or depending upon your frequency, whether you've asked for it weekly, monthly, but sent to your email or your fax on a regular basis, and you don't actually have to go in and run the report.